Okay, business algebra, let's talk about 9.2. It's got a lot of little relatively easy things, particularly made easier with your calculator. But we're going to start with the first thing in 9.2, which is the fundamental counting principle. And that's just to find the number of outcomes of multiple independent events. You simply multiply the number of choices in each event. So if Angela has 9 blouses, 8 skirts, and 13 shoes, like how many blouses? She's got 9. How many skirts? She's got 8. How many shoes? She's got 13. I'm assuming pairs. So to find out the total number of outfits you can make, you simply multiply 9 times 8 times 13, so that's 936 outfits. It's really just that simple. Nothing too difficult about it. Let's go to one with like a little more meat. How many 5-character license plates can be made if the first 3 are letters and the last 2 are digits? The first letter must be P, W, E, Q, L, or K. So we've got a 5-digit license plate. So the first letter can only be any of these 6 letters, but the rest of them can be any letter, which there are 26 in the alphabet, and third as well. When asked for digits, those are the numbers 0 through 9, so there are 10 of them. Generally, there are 10 digits. Think about your phone. So to find how many license plates you can make, you simply multiply all of these together. So there are 405,600 license plates using these requirements. So I would say the fundamental counting principle is not that difficult to understand. So let's go to the next page on permutations. So it says permutations are arranging R items from a group of N items. And you do that, the number, if you have N items permuting R of them, it's N factorial divided by N minus R factorial. And your calculator does have a button how to do this, but before we get there, we should talk about what a factorial is. A factorial, take a whole number or a natural number, it's multiplied by all the whole numbers below it all the way down to 1. So for example, 7 factorial is 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. If you have a TI-30, the little calculator, if you find the PRB button, it should have the factorial button on there. It should also have the NPR button on there. So 7 factorial, 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 is 5,040. You can find this button in your calculator, and I would recommend being familiar with where it is. Now, let's talk about 11 factorial divided by 9 factorial. This is really 11 times 10 times 9 times all the way down to 1. 9 factorial is 9, all the way down to 1. What do you notice about this fraction? You can't just take 11 divided by 9 and make that a factorial. It doesn't really make sense. You can't subtract them. But this number in the numerator has 9 all the way down to 1. This one also has 9 all the way down to 1, which means those two sets of numbers are going to cancel when we divide, leaving only what? 11 times 10, which is 110. So one easy way to manage factorials is if you're dividing, compared to the bigger one or smaller one, the larger factorial keeps all of its numbers until it runs into the smaller one. Now your permutation, if you also go to the probability button in your calculator, you'll find the NPR button there. Now, I want to say, if you have a graphing calculator, it's usually under Math, and then you scroll over, I think, 3 times to the right, and you should see PRB, probability. And then all 3 of factorial NPR, and then the next one we'll do on the next video, NCR, are all there. So 10P4, if we're doing it the way up here with the formula, we would have to do 10 factorial and then over 10 minus 4 factorial, which is 10 factorial over 6 factorial. Now, because of what we just talked about up here, that means all the numbers from 10 down to up until 6 will stay. So this is 10 times 9 times 8 times 7. Or in your calculator, you can put 10, hit the NPR button, and then put 4, and it will give you the same answer. Either way, this ends up being, ironically, 5040 as well. Not every answer is 5040, but this one is. Now, doing it by hand becomes a little cumbersome, more cumbersome with something like 20p8. Why? This is 20 factorial over 20 minus 8 factorial, which is 20 factorial over 12 factorial. That means you're going to have to do 20 times 19 times 18 all the way down to 13. At this point, it's probably just going to be easier to do 20 NPR 8 in your calculator. A 20 NPR 8 is, let's see, it's a large number. It is, looks like 5,079,110,400. So as you can see, these can get out of hand rather quickly. So just be aware. One thing to note is if you try to put a factorial in your calculator and that factorial is too big, your calculator will just say overflow. Sometimes if you had something up here instead of 11 factorial divided by 9 factorial, like 79 factorial divided by 77 factorial, you're often better off canceling if the factorials are too big. So just be aware of that. Now we'll talk about the rest of the notes, combinations, and the word problems in the next video.